Hi everyone, it is Saber from Hoof Falls and Footfalls, and I wanted to go live for this instructor chat to share with you guys some tips and tricks to help prepare you or your mentee, or really depending on whether you're a mentor or you're someone going through the process, to prepare you for the CTRI written exam. So when is the exam? So the exam that I'm going to be talking about is paired with the PATH International CTRI certification process. And step number one in that certification process is for the certification candidate, or if you're a mentor working with someone that would be your mentee, it would be for that person to turn in their application to PATH International. And all the components in that application are clearly outlined on the PATH International website under the CTRI certification page. There's a web page that has all the documents, all the instructions that you're going to need. So once that application is submitted, then that individual will get notified from the office on whether or not all the components in that application met criteria. If all those components do meet criteria, then you have permission to go ahead and attend the proctored exam. And I think I led off by saying the written exam, it's on a computer, so I guess it's in writing, but it's a closed booked, proctored, so monitored exam that the individual has to sit through, and then once they have successfully passed that test, then the certification would be awarded by the PATH International office. So step one is that application, step two is this exam. So at the time of recording this video, whether you're watching it live or on a replay, and also at the time of writing the blog that corresponds to this video, PATH International has not officially released the study guide yet. But that will be coming out soon. I have not seen that yet at all. But the tips and tricks and information that I'm going to be giving in this video and also in the corresponding blog that will go along with this will still apply and are still good techniques that you can use to help prepare, whether you're a mentor or you're the actual individual working towards certification. So we talked about when the exam is, talked about the PATH International Study Guide not having come out yet, but that I will still be using these tips and tricks once it does come out. And the blog, make sure you keep an eye out for the blog that is going to go with this video. If you're not already on my free email list, make sure you join that. If you go to hooffallsandfootfalls.com, you can register for my email list. I send out a couple every month. I don't spam you or anything, so drop that in there, and if you miss the blog post on my Facebook page, then you can get it through email. All right, so materials that you're going to need to prepare for the CTRI exam. And these are materials that are not only going to prepare you for the exam, but are also going to help prepare you to become an instructor for when you're working through your certification process and you're getting all those components you need for your application. So these are things that you should have handy if you're working towards the CTRI certification. First thing is the PATH International Certified Riding Instructor Criteria. CTRI is Certified Riding Instructor. So this is the criteria that breaks down all the components that you need to know under equine management, horsemanship, instruction, teaching methodology, and disabilities. And each section then has criteria that you need to know. So for example, under the horsemanship section, criteria CTRH 1.1 is know and demonstrate the following: haltering and leading, tying and safety knots, grooming and tacking, proper riding attire. So as an instructor that is at the CTRI level, you should be able to demonstrate those. That's one of the many components that you need. So why is this so important? This is a wonderful study guide to help you prepare to be an instructor and also help you prepare for the written test. And I'm going to keep saying written even though it's on a computer, so for the proctored test. With this criteria, what I have my mentees do right away is to have them print off this criteria. If you are a mentor, you should print this off and become very, very familiar with this. How to become familiar with this and how to use this in mentoring situations. If you want to learn more about that, check out my mentoring bootcamp. I'm running one more in July. Registration closes July 8th. But print this off, and what you can do is you are going to go through and you're going to read through all of the criteria pieces. So read through each of the lines. You might notice that some of them are repeated. So even though there's multiple pages in the criteria booklet, a lot of it is knowledge that is repeated in multiple areas. So for example, equine management and horsemanship, some of that might be repeated and have the same points under instruction, because not only should you be able to know and demonstrate those yourself, but you should also be able to teach those. So don't let the number of points in the criteria discourage you or overwhelm you, because a lot of them, one, are repeated just in different ways, and two, the way that I'm going to tell you guys to study this helps break it down into more manageable pieces. So once you've printed off this criteria, you're going to then break it out into 3 areas. And you want to create a legend for those 3 areas. So area number 1 is something that you are 100% comfortable with. So if you are 100% comfortable with, say, for example, tying safety knots, that is something that you would mark as 100% comfortable. You could have that as a certain color, you could label it a 1, you could put a star next to it, whatever you want to do. So area number 1 that you're going to be dividing the criteria into, things that you are 100% comfortable with. Area number 2 are things that you are fairly comfortable with, but maybe you need to review, or maybe you haven't done it in a while, so you need to get hands-on again. Just make sure you are for sure comfortable with that. Again, mark that second area that you're going to organize the criteria into with another symbol or another color or the number 2, whatever you want to do. Then area number 3 is going to be things that you have not done before, or that you are uncomfortable with, or that you 100% do not know. So those are going to be the most challenging areas for you and things that you might need to work on. So once you have created a legend that breaks down those 3 areas into different colors or numbers or whatever you want to use, go through this criteria and by each little piece, mark it with the corresponding thing. Are you 100% comfortable? Do you need to study it more? Do you really, really need to study it because it's something you've never experienced or you're very uncomfortable with? Then you're going to take all that information, let it set for a little bit, because sometimes that can be a little overwhelming, and then come back to it and just work on the number 3s. So the things that you need to work on the most, work on those first. And then you can also start working on some of the number 2, some of the things that maybe you need to review. Create a plan on how you're going to practice those things. Maybe create flashcards, or bring this to your mentor and say, hey, here's the areas I need to work in. Mentors, this is something you can do with your mentees if you want to help them study and prepare. So turn this into a study guide. This is going to help you while you are working towards your supervised teaching hours. This is also information that you need to know when you go sit for that exam, and that's going to help you be able to navigate through those pieces that you're going to be tested on, because the exam follows these 5 core areas. The equine management, horsemanship, instruction, teaching methodology, and disabilities. That's how the scoring is broken down. So materials, first thing you need, criteria. Second thing that you need material-wise to help you study and prepare for the exam, PATH International Instructor Education Guide. This is a really helpful textbook, I guess you could call it. There's a lot of images in here. It goes over tack and equipment, mounts and dismounts. It's really your fundamental core knowledge for instructors entering into this industry. If you are a mentor, I would highly suggest that you get this book, become familiar with it, and assign it to your mentees as homework. Mentees or candidates for certification, read through this book. Align this information with the criteria. Again, this can help you fulfill learning a lot of these components in here. For those that have gone through the old registered workshop process, a lot of the information that was taught in the workshop through the documents and in person has been translated to this book. So very handy book. I actually have taught a college course off of this and will be teaching a course again in the fall. So very handy information. This is also going to help instructors in training or the candidates for the certification understand PATH methodology and industry best practices as well as preferred by PATH. So this is a very important book to have, read over, understand, get to know. So that's your second piece of material that you're going to want for preparing. Third thing that you're going to need is the PATH International Standards and Precautions and Contraindication Manual. Excuse me. If you are a PATH International member, you can actually download a free digital version from the membership portal on the PATH International website. I don't own a hard copy of it. I just use the digital version. So don't feel obligated to buy the print version from PATH. It does update every year, so I like the digital version. But with the PATH International Standards, it's very important for instructors in training or candidates for the certification to become familiar with the PATH International Standards that they should be following as a PATH International certified instructor. So knowing the standards that apply to us when it comes to equine management, when it comes to records and retention for our volunteers and our students, when it comes to documentation of who is checking the equipment and who is assigning saddles and volunteers, what's the stirrup policy, what's the wording on that, and how does it apply to us. So learning how to read the PATH International Standards and becoming familiar with the ones that apply directly to instructors, that's another key component to study for the exam. Along with the standards manual, we also have the precautions and contraindications manual. That breaks down the common disabilities that are seen in equine assisted activities and therapies, and a lot of even uncommon disabilities. So it goes over autism spectrum, multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy, traumatic brain injury. It goes through all of those, kind of relates it to equine assisted activities and therapies, and then gives you precautions, so kind of like yellow flag, warning, you should check into this more before you provide services to this individual, or contraindications, hey, this is a no-go for certain equine assisted activities and therapies. Learning how to read and interpret those standards, or I'm sorry, the precautions and contraindications is very important for instructors, because we are not only teaching individuals how to ride horses, but we are working with individuals who have diagnoses, and we need to be aware of the additional layers of risk that could be involved with working with individuals that have a certain diagnosis. In the blog that I'm going to be creating that pairs with this video, I have a disability study guide sheet that helps instructors in training and even current instructors take the information for each disability that is in the instructor manual, in the criteria, and in the precautions and contraindication guide, and kind of put it all into one easy to locate area. So it helps you break down the disability by how it presents, how we might have to adapt TAC, how we might have to adapt our teaching, volunteer considerations, horse considerations, you know, kind of all those things that we should be learning how to take into consideration when we're working with individuals with disabilities. And when we're first entering into this field, or maybe it's a disability we're working with for the very first time, the disability guide I'll provide you guys in the blog helps kind of get your brain thinking and making sure that you're covering all those important areas that you need to be considering as an instructor in adaptive or therapeutic horseback riding. So just to recap, if you guys are jumping on at the very end, this chat went over tips to prepare individuals for the CTRI exam, which comes after you have turned in your application and have gotten meets criteria in all those areas, and you've been allowed to sit for the exam. The materials that you're going to need to prepare for the written exam is the CTRI Criteria, the PATH International Instructor Education Guide, and the PATH International Standards and Precaution and Contraindication Manual, digital version free to PATH International members on the member portal. PATH International has not released the study guide yet, but they will be releasing the official study guide. But like I mentioned at the beginning, even once that comes out, I will still be using these methods mentioned in the video to prepare my own mentees, and also to help pass on to other mentors that I work with who are mentoring other people. And for the tips, let me know if they are helpful, and if there is another tip that you've used to help prepare people for the exam or for the certification in general. But these are tips that I use not only for the CTRI certification and exam, but these are also tips and tricks that I use and have used with mentees going through the registered therapeutic riding instructor certification process, the advanced therapeutic riding instructor certification process, and it is even methods that I'm using now as I personally prepare for master level certification, and that journey that will be coming up in a while. So I hope these tips and tricks were helpful to you. I hope this helps kind of fill the gap between now and when PATH releases the study guide, and I also hope that this information pairs well with that study guide to help you as a mentor or as someone who's working towards certification. If you are working towards certification, good luck. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments, and you can always reach me through email. Email is the best way. Facebook Messenger doesn't always work well, so email sabra.p@hooffallsandfootfalls.com. Check out the Intuitive Instructor Club. We have over 40 hours now. We've finally hit that mark. Over 40 hours of immediate online education geared towards instructors in the equine assisted activities and therapies industry. That is all available online, on demand. Membership gets you full access to all 40 of those hours, and we release 2 new hours each month, at least 2 new hours of content each month, and it is all educational and geared to meet continuing education requirements. So check out the intuitiveinstructorclub.com. For more free information, check out my website, hooffallsandfootfalls.com. Check out the videos, my YouTube channel, the blog on my website, lots of information there. Thanks so much for joining in, and I will see you on the next Instructor Chat.